before we do anything else, I think we need to readdress the bills that we were getting from Lincoln Park Manor. Dawn, is this a second bill for the security system, the keypad, we already got one a couple weeks ago, we talked about 2 weeks ago. Is this a second one, or is this just a?
I'm assuming, I don't know.
Okay, this one's for $485 from Access Control Systems. Mileage and installing the keypad and program and testing and all of that for the security system.
I think we probably need to check the dates on it.
Well, okay.
I'm assuming it's different because they send it, but.
This doesn't seem like the same business, is it? It's not the same invoice, I don't think. It says from February 27th, and then this one is back from November 2nd, 2017, and it's for the kitchen hood cleaning. We cannot be providing services for the tenants. That's at their expense if they're renting our building. That's to operate their particular business. I cannot agree with that. Have we voted on any of these bills yet? Because we haven't even addressed them. We just keep looking at them and they keep flying past the desk. And are we paying them without approval, or how's this happening?
Nobody said they weren't approved, so.
That doesn't mean they are. I'm gonna say we're gonna have to have motions and votes on paying these bills, because at this rate, they can send anything across this desk and we don't even talk about it nor disclose it to the public, and apparently they're just getting paid without question. As I have stated in the past, I've been a landlord and I've never paid for any personal services that tenant might need to operate his or her own activities within that building. That's not our responsibility. And I think we've gone above and beyond, especially this year, putting money into that facility. I would think that the business itself should sustain some sort of overhead cost and operating cost. I cannot agree with us paying to clean the facility in a regular manner that they're supposed to be paying for. Are we going to address this, or are we going to sit here and ignore it?
Well, I want them to recheck those two.
And does that mean that bill from November has already been paid, Dawn? It says November.
It has not been paid. It was just sent to me.
That's why I wanted to request that they check and make sure it wasn't paid prior to now. I think Hannah can go back and look and see if the bill has been paid, just to make sure.
The hood bill has not been paid, we just received it.
The what?
The bill for cleaning the hood
The
is.
cleaning in the kitchen.
We just received.
They're just sending one out from November.
What?
I said they're just now sending a bill out from November the 2nd.
I just got it in an email from Lincoln Park Manor.
It was sent to the nursing home and they never paid it. So now they're forwarding it to us. I'm sorry, I cannot agree with paying the business expenses for a tenant. It's the same thing with the security system. If it wasn't that particular tenant, we wouldn't necessarily need that particular security system. That is pertaining to the business itself. That is not something that the building has to have, regardless of who is occupying it. A new tenant may want a new security system, and I don't think that's our responsibility. Dawn, I think the other things are fine. The receptacle covers, the masonry work that was performed by Schwartzwegger, Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
I would say we reject the cleaning and the security system update and work that was done for the business.
Yeah, I would question the one, and I would also like to check back, cause we just did one of these 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think, just to make sure we didn't have an invoice and just a bill on the first
Have we
one.
already paid that? Did we pay the previous charge from the company that came and did the security system check?
It's entered, I'm assuming upstairs and
I think we need to send a bill for that amount back to Lincoln Park Manor and send them that one as well.
Well, I think we need to check and see if it's the same bill or not before we do anything.
what does it say on the vendor?
Access control systems.
That's,
It's a service call,
no, underneath access control system, what does it say?
Total security service.
Burgess,
Source.
Burgess Locksmith,
That's-
line of lock.
That's not that either, they're listed under something else.
Total Security Source Incorporated.
What was it?
Total Security Source Incorporated. But if we would've paid it, it would've had to been in here before the 25th of last month, and it
Yeah,
seems to
it's
me
just
like it.
Entered upstairs, but I can view open and show them the. But they do business as something else, so let me,
Aldre, did you get a chance to look at this abatement?
Yes, I did.
I would move to approve tax abatement 2017-22.
Have a motion to approve tax abatement, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second on tax abatement, is there any further discussion?
I'll add the amount into the motion.
What did you say, Dawn?
$594.96. This was for Mid-Kansas Home and yeah. They sold a vehicle and they're getting a rebate on the taxes that they paid for the year.
There's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Look at the minutes.
Okay, the two bills that she has open that was in, for reason open AP, that was in here last week. One says it's a door handle lock, and it was dated 10/20/17. And the other one says install keypad, and it was dated 2/27/18.
227, that's this one.
Okay, so that's a duplicate.
Duplicate,
What's
yeah.
the amount?
485.
Yeah, that's this one. I think we need to send that back along with the hood cleaning.
there any corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. I will move to approve the minutes. March 12th meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 12th meeting. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Mr. Doe,
Yes, sir.
what can we do for you today?
How are you this morning?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. First item I'd like to talk about is the burn ban. It's still in place. Again, with the amount of precipitation that we expected to get today, I don't see it making a big difference for the rest of the week. The only good thing, it's just supposed to be windy today and tomorrow. For the rest of the week after Tuesday, the wind is supposed to die down as represented on the front sheet of your attachment. And then with the 20% chance of snow, or correction, showers, next Sunday, this coming Sunday. But again, wind speed's supposed to die down, or they don't have anything documented that it is supposed to be over the guidance. But again, the amount of precipitation is going to be saturated rather quickly, and I'd just as soon leave the burn ban in effect. But that's your call. I know dispatch catches grief about it more than I do, or you guys do. So just information pertaining to that.
Well, my only thought on that is that this may be an opportunity for people to burn some brush.
Okay.
That is not in grasslands. Burning off CPR worries me a little,
Okay.
but I think there are probably some people that have built up some trash or some brush that would like to get rid of it. And my feeling, I guess, would be that we would lift it and revisit it probably about Thursday
Okay.
for the weekend. I think we need to revisit for the weekend. If it doesn't happen to come out, dry off things, we're going to be back in the same position we were, I think, pretty quickly. But I guess I would lean to lift it for a few days, give people a chance to burn.
And again, that's your call. I'm just presenting information that I got from the weather service. So.
And then,
Well, we seem to
not
have
that
been
I have-
successful putting it on with a phone call, so I don't see why we can't do
I have
that.
not been contacted about people wanting to burn, but
I
but
have a few.
I guess I just feel that we probably have an opportunity here in the next couple days to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, I would concur. I think that, if we can put it back on if we need to.
Okay.
I think everybody is comfortable with the phone call.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, that seemed to work just fine.
Did you second that?
What? I didn't make a
Oh, I
motion.
thought you made a motion.
No, I didn't. I was gonna let Don do the resolution first.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay. The second set of paperwork, the next little attachment, there was a task force in Lincoln County that went down to the grass fire down in Rice County. I'd received a call, and again, from the emergency manager from Ottawa County. She's on the state incident management team. She had contacted me and asked if we had any resources readily available. And I called Terry just to give him a heads up. And I was well aware that I needed to contact the chiefs and have them discuss that with their fire boards. But again, just touch base with him to let him know that that was going on. Then I made numerous calls, and again, timeline and whatnot, how that transgressed, or transgressed. And then Lincoln trucks did go down. One Lincoln brush truck, one Beverly brush truck, one Westfall brush truck, and a Sylvan brush truck. All responded down to the staging area down around Lyons, and got down there on scene and sat in staging that whole time. Again, when I got the call the other evening from the incident management team member, She said that the fire had flared up, they had expected wind speed that came back up, and it did that evening. The guys went ahead and responded down there. They all met somewhere south, Ellsworth, I think, and they went down there as a group, all checked in, sat in staging for the time they got down there till the time they got relieved, which was about 12:30.
I'm sorry, but I don't know what in staging means.
You're in a designated area after you've checked in and done your credential, your card, your state credentialing card. After you presented that at check-in, you've got a staging area where all fire resources, ambulances, whatever is going to go out, bulldozers, graders. Once you check in with this, then you're assigned to staging. They get
Okay.
task force,
So in their particular assigned zone, so
Or,
to
well,
speak.
and again, it's a big area where you park a lot of trucks. Normally it's like 1,000 feet by 1,000 feet.
So
You
does
can
that mean they
expect-
weren't actually,
They never did spray any water that evening. At 12:30, Incident Command was talking about putting the firefighters that had come a distance up in a hotel in Hutch. And I was told that one of our fire personnel that responded down there said, if we're gonna get put in a hotel, I'd just assume fight a fire tonight and leave when you want us to come back in the morning. So they were gonna put them up in a hotel and then have them come back out and fight the fire at 7:30 in the morning for an extended amount of time, whether it was mop up or whatever the stages were down there. And they went ahead and they were released to come home. So they eventually didn't need them. But that was a timeline of the events that occurred the other day. The next attachment, the third attachment, stapled together group of paperwork is Kansas Wildland Task Force guidelines that the State Forest Service, Kansas Firefighters Association, KDEM, there's a multitude of agencies, National Guard, have put this together. Task forces are recommended, not required, but we had this discussion the other night at our quarterly fire chiefs meeting about this. There's some good, there's some bad, there's things that are required of your equipment to be able to go on this task force. Did you not go? Oh, okay, sorry. That are required to be able to go on this task force for equipment. Again, it'd be an expenditure, so the guys are still discussing it, mulling it over, and you don't have to sign up for this, but it'd be a first out resource for wildland fires like down at Rice County, for example, or Clark or Comanche or any of the wildfires or Hayes the other day. Just a resource for that. And again, it can be, doesn't have to be within your jurisdictional boundaries. You can get together with Ellsworth, Russell, your neighboring counties. You can also get together and form a task force with them if you so choose. Pretty much to your discretion, but there's certain things that you have to be able to participate with this. The next single piece of paperwork in the packet is the things that I've done within the last, since February 22nd, and then I have coming up also. KEMA members met, North Central KEMA, Kansas Emergency Management Association members met in Abilene on February 22nd, worked on training on equipment entry into the CRMCS credentialing system, the card that I just showed you guys, as well as printer maintenance. Lincoln County was one of the first 3 agencies within the North Central region to receive a new credentialing printer. The region is moving forward with the purchasing new printers as support coverage is coming to an end with the current CP80 printers. I have an install technician scheduled to be here at 11:15 today. Again, when I came back from Abilene last week, I had that printer with me and it's sat in my office since. And again, it's part of the Midwest card, part of the contractual agreement that they have is to come out and install the printers at these different agencies within the North Central region. Store spotter meeting was on Tuesday, February 20th at the Lincoln High School Commons area. 37 people that came out for the 2-hour presentation. Last year there were 34 people. Trent Koberman won the national weather radio that I gave away that night. Had everybody sign up when they came in and did a drawing, and Mr. Koberman was the person that won that radio. February 28th and March 1st, I was in Topeka for the second session of the 4 for the L0101 class. Foundations of Emergency Management, National Emergency Management Basic Academy class. And again, this is the first year that the state has taught this. It's kind of in a trial guinea pig phase with EMI, the Emergency Management Institute back in Emmitsburg, Maryland. They're allowing states to try this, and this is the first time that KDEM has done this. We had a test the other day, passed the test, and I don't know what the third and the fourth session are going to be about or bring, but there was a test that I had to pass to continue with the class. If I would have failed it, I wouldn't have been able to go back for session 3 and 4. March 5th through 9th was Severe Weather Awareness Week. I sent out information on the Lincoln County Emergency Management Facebook website about various information about preparedness. On March 6th at 10 a.m. was a statewide test tornado drill, and all the tornado sirens in Lincoln County were activated to ensure working properly. I know there were problems over in Sylvan as I was over there that day, and they had to do a multitude of tests, but between Fire Chief Lovin from Sylvan and the city administrator or the city superintendent, I think they got whatever issues were going on figured out or fixed. March 7th, we had the quarterly chiefs meeting. It was in Beverly, and items discussed were the Kansas Wildlife Task Force guidelines and radio procedures for arrival on scene of a large event with more than 2 agencies responding. With that, we only have, I shouldn't say we only have, because there's more channels on the radios that we can communicate with. It's just getting the firefighters, once they arrive on scene, to switch off that main channel, because again, like with incident command or me and the chief, because ultimately it's the chief's scene, I'm there to get resources and help him in whatever tasks he needs. But command can talk on the 155 channel, the main emergency response channel that we page out on, and we can kick the other responding fire trucks that are out fighting the grass fire. We have channel 3, or we have the highway channel that we can utilize. There's been some discussion about that, because again, when you have all the fire guys talking, a chief's talking to one of the trucks, or and then you have people acknowledging on the radio, and again, you still have law enforcement that in an incident like that, you have all those channels open, so there's a deputy running a license plate also, and then dispatch is talking over. It's just a big cluster, so we're trying to alleviate some of that problem. That was discussed. We don't have an answer for that yet, but it was discussed and brought to the table. March 27th, there's a regional Homeland Security meeting scheduled at 9:30 with discussion of accountability, printer supplies, training exercises, iPads with the track app for tracking personnel and equipment, communication with the 800 megahertz radios for public health, emergency management, 911, PSAP, EMS, Salina, SWAT team, and different agencies that have access to the 800 frequency on the radios. Law enforcement, active shooter training, post-active shooter training, individual first aid kits for law enforcement, SWAT training, SWAT ballistic helmets, vests, headsets and communications, active shooter training for dispatchers, hostage negotiation equipment. And then again, with this upcoming meeting on the 27th, the next 3 fiscal year funding will be discussed also. One of the things that we just bought recently, Regional Homeland Security just bought, was the generator light tower that's housed in the Beverly Barnard Fire Station. Again, it's a resource if we had to run down on I-70, had a bad accident, and they needed lighting, you could light up a football field with that. And again, Homeland Security purchased that, and eventually all 12 counties within the region will have one of those, if you so choose to accept one. I didn't see the reason not to have one. One of the next projects that is getting talked about is sign boards that like KDOT has, to where we have access more readily available than KDOT. That's like pulling teeth with KDOT about getting those boards, if you can. And then it's a right-of-way question where you can put it and whatnot. So, but that's being discussed also.
Where is the Homeland Security meeting?
In Beloit. It's in Beloit, and it'll be, I have that listed there, don't I, at 9:30 on 27th, okay, sorry. April 3rd and 4th, I will be attending an AWR 136 Essentials of Community Cybersecurity Training and Management course in Wichita. Again, communicating about cybersecurity, what to look for, what to do. And then April 18th, there is North Central Kansas Emergency Management Association, KEMA, Cooperative Emergency Operations Plan Workshop in Beloit to help with the regional EMs update and make changes to the emergency operations plans with direction from a KDEM representative. When we had credential training on the CRMCS system on the 22nd down in Abilene, it was discussed that prior to handing out credentials for anybody in the county, first responders, anybody, you need to have some basic ICS classes. And again, Incident Command System is what the ICS stands for. These classes are mandatory for elected officials, first responders, I think courthouse people, any representative of the county should be taking these classes. The first four, the 100, 200, 100, 700, 200, and 800 are all a self-taught study course on FEMA's site. Again, the cover sheet explains all that information. That FEMA now requires you to have a student identification number rather than just going in and taking the course, and then at the end of the course, when you go to take the test, you'd enter your social security number along with your name. It doesn't ask for your date of birth, but they were feeling a little hinky about your social security number being out there in the cloud and whatnot. So they've gone to this mandated student identification ID tag or number that you get. Again, you have to log in and do that before you're allowed to take any of these classes. Again, the 1, 2, 7, and 8 are all self-taught. You can do them online at any
I
time.
didn't have to get, when I went on there for these, I didn't have to get an identification number.
You didn't? Oh, and maybe you got
But I
online before
didn't.
that was enacted, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that was last year,
And I don't know when they enacted.
but I didn't finish all of them because
okay.
so I didn't know, maybe I had to, I don't know. I mean, it let me get on there and access those classes and the material, but I didn't turn in anything to finish to get like my certification, or I don't know what it's called when you finish, but.
Just your certification,
Yeah.
your certificate. And again, once you pass that course, it'll say yes, you passed it, or no, you failed it, and you'll have to take it again, and it won't give you the option to print that certificate. But once you do, then you do have that option to be able to print that. I know there also, if you have questions pertaining to any of your certificates or training that you've taken online, there's a little tab on that site that you can go ask questions about. Hey, I did this test, and you can communicate with somebody via email. As not many people are leaving phone numbers for sites that you can communicate with anymore. Technology is a wonderful thing. Again, I've told the chiefs about this, that we have numerous fire guys that have signed up, that are active fire personnel, but I haven't received any certificates from anybody. And again, the 1, 2, 7, and 8 are just basic responders, as the command system training levels shows that. And then again, the last page is just the basic incident command structure with where those different things will allow you to, what
I
they'll
think
allow
this
you
is
to
the
do.
list you gave me, right? These
Correct.
on the bottom.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
And
I did
then-
not finish them.
Okay.
So what you're saying is anyone can do those,
Anybody can do the 1, 2, 7, and 8, yes.
and when you finish them, send you.
A copy of the certificate, yes. And you can email it to me or however you'd like, if you're here for a
I
commissioner's
just don't
meeting.
remember giving me an identification number. Is that new?
And
this
it
year,
is
or-
relatively new because the 1, 2, 7, and 8 have just recently changed within the last year. They've just changed that. So, I know it used to be old school, that old school, there were tests that were filled out and shared, and everybody could just randomly do it. But now the different tests, when you log on online, let's say you took it and Terry took it and I took it, those tests are not the same format. The numbers are switched up, the questions are switched up.
Well,
There's
if I
just,
remember right, you can read through the whole thing, or you can skip to the end and take the test.
Mhm.
Like you have access to the reading material, and
Right.
then you can just skip forward and hit the
and
test.
do the test, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Yes. So, again, and then with that also, the North Central Region is talking about hosting a incident command system 402 class, and it's ICS overview for executives and senior officials. And again, we're looking at county commissioners from within the region, all getting together, hosting it. We don't have a date set yet, but with that, 1, 2, 7, and 8 are obviously mandatory. And I know you guys have had the 3 and the 4 training when Rodney was here, as he was a trainer. But again, the 3 and the 4 class are like 2-day classes. 2 years ago, Bob Keach from up in Barnard, for example, he's an arrested fire guy up in Barnard. He went down and took the command class, as well as Jeremy Webke, the newly appointed,
Peter Board.
thank you, I was Ham, I couldn't get Ham out of my head. But I know they went down and took those two-day classes together. And it ended up being 4 days out of the week or whatever. But again, with command, that's 3 and the 400 class are relative to, you have to have those before you can take this. So just wanted to put that out on the table and you know that the region is looking at hosting those.
So this is 1, 2, 7, 8, and 3 and 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that it? That's the whole curriculum?
The structure for the command structure, yes, but then you can take different courses for all of these things. And again, like with the state, for example, I'm on the all hazard incident management team for the state. I'm a safety officer. I've had the safety officer course. It was a 40-hour course. Have passed that, and now I just have to fill out a task book to be able to go out on incidents to assist the state with any problems that they have. So that's all I have.
Okay, Dave, thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and do the resolution.
Sheriff,
Do you have it? We have resolution 2018-12, rescinding the state of disaster emergency proclamation resolution 2018-11. Be removing the fire ban.
I'd move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
What day did you want to at least contact Dawn or something?
Yeah.
Maybe we should just have that in mind. I mean,
We'll revisit it Tuesday,
No.
or
Tomorrow.
Thursday, I'm sorry, Thursday.
Okay. That would be the 22nd.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well,
Morning.
We, the Sylvan Senior Center, come before you today again to ask for our share of the tax dollars you collect from the resolution that reads, "A tax mill levy will be levied for services or programs for the elderly." We are providing services, programs, activities to the seniors in the western part of this county. We offer gatherings of coffee every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, beginning at 8:30, following at 9:30, exercise classes begin. On Tuesday and Thursday, a relaxing time of coloring is offered, where the ladies of the center gather to make a quilt, for which they sell tickets at the annual community day. The monies they raise on the quilt are used to help fund our senior center. The seniors whose age range from 60 to 90 years old participate in other activities as well. For whatever activities they would like to have, we try to find a way to offer them. For our senior center operates out of need of our community seniors. If monies are needed to fund those activities or pay our utilities, those same seniors of 60 to 90 years old find ways to raise the monies. One of the ways of fundraising is a concession stand at the high school softball games, and we sell snow cones at the annual community day. And another, we have a concession stand at the county fair. And we are considering other ways of fundraising also to offset the lack of funding for the many years the LCCA has refused to disperse our funding. The seniors volunteer to be ticket takers at the high school ball games. When the city of Sylvan decided to have a business door-to-door Halloween party for the children of the community, our senior center offered candy to those who came by our center on Halloween evening. For the senior youth interaction is a great joy for both young and old, and we cherish that opportunity. We choose to be a vital part of our community. Many of our seniors have children who have grown up and have moved away to find jobs, and they do not get to see them as often as they would like. So the senior center has become that place where we gather to share time with new friends that have been made of sometimes loneliness from the loss of a lifetime of family around them. We choose to surround ourselves with those who bring out the best in us, not the stress in us. As a senior center offering service programs activities for the elderly in the western part of the county, we will continue, we will survive. You can take away our funding, but you can't take away our senior center. You have the choice to fund us or not. And I have some paperwork for you. This is a copy of the core request based on last week's meeting. And we're waiting for that response yet. And it pertains to material goods paid for by the LCCA for the senior center, and also any monies of the last 3 years that were distributed, because our records don't show what's been stated. And the other thing is, what makes it confusing is when monies are paid for materials for us and they pay it directly, it never shows up in our records because we never receive the financials. Also, I brought our activity sheet from February. I went through it last night. The month of February, and the sheet, the last page says March 1st and 2nd on it. But we had 193 people 60 and over involved in activities in February. 11 people were under 60. 204 people totally. So we had 94% of the people who came through our doors on activities were 60 and over. And I only have one copy.
Was it turned into the Council on Aging?
No,
Why not?
we're not part of it.
Well, I believe we only got that notice, what, 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, but this is always a month later. This is the month of February. Our meeting was, the last meeting in February was like the 23rd. So this sheet was finished by the end of February, which is after the last meeting.
And January's was turned in?
Yes. I'll give this to Dawn. And the commissioners are using their authority to tax every single household in Lincoln County up to 2 mills to fund elderly service programs. Sylvan and Western County residents contribute nearly 40% of those taxes, but we get back less than 10% of what they contribute. The Council on Aging each year has consumed upwards of 50% of the total tax each year on their own administration, expenses, rent, and monies they have kept hidden in their own organizational bank accounts and certificate of deposits. That if you are going to keep taxing residents, the Sylvan Senior Center should not have to be abused, harassed, and defunded at every turn by a proxy agency of this county for frivolous and unequally enforced made-up rules, and that you expect the county to give Sylvan its fair share. And this responsibility sits with the Commission as their appointed agency, has failed to do this for far too long. We need $5,500 to help underwrite the cost of our utilities and programs we want to offer the elderly in our community. If this commission fails to fund us, as the Council of Aging has failed to fund us for years, we'll raise the money privately, but everyone will understand what a ripoff the elderly seniors tax has been, and will be if you don't provide us our fair share of this mill levy. And if you fail to sponsor programs in Barnard or Beverly or Denmark, where there's not even one nonprofit organization willing to come forward and be able to put on a program or activity for the elderly in their communities. And if the county refuses to fund senior center, then the county should not be taxing the elderly that make up a significant part of our county. And of our county taxpayers, one more penny until the Council on Aging distributes their hoarded money to worthy causes in our community. A cushion is 10 to no more than 20% of an annual year's allocation, but their near 100% or even higher amount of hoarded money is unacceptable, and they should not receive one more penny of county funding until they do their job and distribute that money to other nonprofit groups, whether it's Lincoln and Sylvan Senior Centers or any other 501c3 nonprofit in Lincoln County. That's all I have at this time.
Yes, I would say I appreciate your tone much better today than I did the other letter. The other letter upset me considerably. The one that you've read for the last 2 weeks.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I see a glimmer of hope. A glimmer. I was asked to go to the Council on Aging on Tuesday to a meeting. Had a very frank discussion with them. I do believe the money needs to be dispersed. However, giving money is not just a blank check. We have got to have some accountability for that money. And, you know, I looked through this regulations that the Council on Aging had out. There were some things that they were suggesting that I did not approve of, did not agree with, and I canceled them that I thought they should back up a little bit. And I also said that I thought those regulations needed to come before these commissioners so we knew what was going on, because this is the first time I've seen these regulations. I guess as we come down to it, you know, I think the sign-up sheets have got to be provided to the Council on Aging so they can verify that there are activities going on, that there are people attending. I think they use that for reports to the big guys and Flint Hills. You know, I know that's been a problem in the past. I don't know why, but it's been a problem. They need those records. I think we're looking not only at numbers, we're looking at ages, we're also looking at, is it the same 5 people every day? You know, no, I'm not accusing you of that. I'm just saying, those are things that I think need to be looked at so that we are doing a broad spectrum. I strongly think that financials are an important part, not only for the Council on Aging, but for each senior center that is taking taxpayer money. I cannot emphasize enough that you need to cooperate with the audit that's being done. It's long overdue. You have had 3 treasurers. I don't think there was ever an audit done between those treasurers. From what I see, I think it needs to be done. I don't know why it would be so hard to provide that information. It's surely there. The other thing, you provided finances for me. I appreciate that. I have lots of questions. I have a few questions about those. But the other part that I cannot determine is, because I have no bank statements. I don't know where that money You say supplies, you have some people's names out there that say supplies. What are those supplies? Do you have receipts that I know what they are? You know, this is taxpayer money. You need to be accountable for it, is what I'm saying. So I think financials and I think those attendance sheets are things that have to be provided. My recommendation to you is to withdraw that letter from 2 weeks ago and go back to the Council on Aging. Now, I know there is bad feelings in there. I cannot solve those bad feelings. But people have got to put the past behind and they've got to look for the future. And I'll tell you right now, I told the Council on Aging, there's a budget there. They have asked for that money. You have approved that money. It probably needs to go out. If it comes back and you have not handed in the sign-up sheets, if you do not provide financials, then don't expect to get any more. But I think they need to provide you some money. And I told that to the Lincoln Senior Center. That was a problem with them. I don't know whether we've solved the problem, but I can tell you right now, the attitudes in that Council on Aging have got to change. We have got to decide that we're going to get along, and we have to have a positive attitude looking forward. I cannot undo the past, but I can learn from the past. And when those sheets didn't come in, things didn't go well, did they?
December, I know there was no.
I'm just saying, in the past.
Would you care to discuss this with the rest of the board, or is this going to be your little pet project where we're all just listening to your personal opinion?
I think you'll have an opportunity to speak.
Well, I wasn't informed about this Council on Aging meeting where you supposedly
I did not
attended.
represent the commissioners. I represented myself, and that's the way it was. They asked me to come. I will speak to
You
you
just
people.
sat
come.
here and said that you counseled them.
I
You
did.
used
I
that
gave
word.
them my
Actually, you
counsel
said
advice.
canceled.
I'm
You meant
entitled to
canceled.
give advice, just like you are.
They contacted me and I was out of town. I told them that I couldn't come to the meeting.
So you were both contacted and I wasn't. That's pretty impressive. Seems like a trend we've got going here for the last year and some months.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Well,
One
it's
comment.
my responsibility to go to the meetings, but I was out of town. I wasn't aware of the meeting was
Was
going to
this
take
an
place,
actual meeting or was this a special meeting? Was the entire board there? Was anyone even notified? Cindy, you're on the list, I think, of notifications. Were you notified of this special meeting?
No, and it was a special meeting.
Interesting. So we have another trend for the Council on Aging being exposed. Yet you're hung up on an individual group's sign-in sheets for their activities, which he just gave you the numbers, and you repeated and said, we're interested in ages, and he just told you it was 93% over 60. And you're going to repeat yourself about the importance of these sign-up sheets for their activities, and yet you fail to acknowledge any of the fundamental problems with this group that you are funding. You're not funding the senior centers directly, which I've asked for. You're funding the Council on Aging, and you refuse to scrutinize any of their behaviors. You make these comments about their attitudes, which is none of our business. We deal with the money. We don't deal with the people's personality conflicts. Whatever's going on out there between individuals, they can deal with themselves. We are responsible for the money, and if you took 1/10 of the effort that you just explained about this situation and applied it to the rest of our budgeting, I would be very impressed.
Can I speak? It was the executive board that met with the executive board of the Lincoln Senior Center. It wasn't a full council meeting. And when I sign up to get notifications, I've been told it's for the regular meetings. There might be a question legally whether that can be or not. I don't
Yes,
have an answer
according to
that.
Kansas Open Records, if you request to be on their notification list anytime that they are calling a meeting, special, regular meeting, you are required to be notified. Now, what you're saying is they held a special meeting, but it was still for the Council on Aging. You can't
Information I
circumvent
found
that.
said for regular meetings, so I don't know if there is or not.
Well, an executive meeting you may not, be able to participate in, but a
Right.
special meeting is still a regular meeting.
They
It's
call it
just
an
not on
executive
your normal
meeting.
time
They
and
call it an
location.
executive meeting, but according to bylaws, they can call an executive meeting a special meeting, so I have problems with everybody's bylaws here, so I'm just gonna say. that
But this
things
is
aren't
apparently
clear.
not the first time that this has happened, because am I to understand that the Sylvan Senior Center received a letter that was produced by the Council on Aging yet no one in the meeting approved it to be sent out. Am I correct?
There's been several of those.
So we have an organization sending out letters that are drafted and written and signed by potentially one or two people, but it's representing the whole group, and you don't even have a meeting, because you've been on the council, Mike.
Since January of last year.
Letter from yourself, and you didn't even know that you had sent it to yourself.
Well, there have been decisions made that weren't board decisions, individual decisions where things come up. And I brought it up at one of the meetings, that was not a board decision, it was withdrawn.
So these are the real issues. It's not whether or not each senior center is providing their sign-in sheets. I would like you to explain why the Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging has anything to do with Sylvan Senior Center.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, that was your
I think
suggestion earlier.
well,
You said that they
I'm just
collect
saying
the sign-in
that
sheets because they
The
turn
Flint
them in.
Hills Council on Aging, as I understand, funds some of elderly programs. And they need the statistics, they need the documentation when they go to the legislature and to Congress to get money. I mean, that's basically what it is. It's statistics, is what it is.
But you're
And it
implying
drives
that
it.
Sylvan needs to turn in their sign-in sheets to the Council on Aging, who then reports that information to the Area Agency on Aging for Flint Hills, and that is not true. The Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging in Lincoln County is solely responsible for the food program. And it's not called Meals on Wheels. I'm not even sure what the official title of it, but it has nothing to do with Sylvan Senior Center because Sylvan doesn't have a meals program. It is
Yeah.
particular to the Lincoln Senior Center, not the Council on Aging.
I think
There's a
what it-
confusion there. I think the Council on Aging has been misled to believe that they are directly affiliated with the Area Agency on Aging, and that is not true. The Area Agency on Aging funds through the Lincoln Senior Center their meal program. And our county tax money subsidizes that program through the Council on Aging. It has nothing to do with Sylvan, and it actually has nothing to do with Council on Aging. The Council on Aging chooses to subsidize Lincoln Senior Center's meal program. But the money that Lincoln receives from Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging is particular to that meal program.
I think what
Sylvan
he
does
said
not
was,
have a meal program because they can't provide a kitchen for it. That's why Lincoln Senior Center does.
I think what he said was that Flint Hills uses those statistics to get funding through the legislature. That's what he said.
And I'm pretty sure that Flint Hills has the capacity to contact that group or any senior group in this area individually. The fact that you're using the excuse that we must channel information through the Council on Aging is nothing more than a reason for its existence and to consume 50% of the mill levy. I mean, we're taxing 2 mills. We're not even allowing that tax for 2 mills because the reason you used 2 years ago when you did the budget was that they already had enough savings and that there had been, public dissension about the issue. So for 2 years in a row, you've held their mill levy at less than two mills. And now we're looking at this situation where we have concerns brought before us and you're turning the wheel and saying that there's I'll use the word that they've been throwing around, compliance. There's a compliance issue. Did you give us, I read through that packet, but you didn't give us the letter from Hoffman. And
No,
I
I've
referred
got-
to that,
I've got
I
that.
referred to that for the last 2 weeks. There was an attorney that was hired by the Council on Aging, one of many. They've hired about 5 because of these issues. Now, it's not the senior centers hiring attorneys, it's the Council on Aging hiring attorneys. And one of the attorneys that they hired specifically and explicitly explained that the Council on Aging has no statutory authority, no room for judgment or measurement of any other organization. These organizations, they exist independently. We cannot put stipulations on other organizations. We can funnel money as we see fit, and obviously you've chosen in the past to give the money to the Council on Aging, but the Council on Aging cannot make any requests for individual organizations or activities to be construed or organized or performed in any specific manner. Now, these mill levy regulations that you said you've just seen for the first time, I've seen them several times, and they've changed several times in the last few years. There have been things added, there have been things edited, and it is true, and I know what you explained in your last letter, is that you've attempted to reach that bar several times, and then there are just more things added to it. Now, what our real concern should be is why has the Council on Aging not provided us an itemized expenditure report? Because we are the commission. We shouldn't be meddling in the senior center's business, asking them who attends, who signs their name. That is the most discriminating act of, ridiculousness to ask for people's names, for you to be 75 years old and come in and sign your name down to justify why you're attending the senior center. That's not the commission's responsibility. I find it appalling that that's your focus. We should be focused on why that Council on Aging has not provided us an itemized expenditure report.
Regardless of where the money comes from, that goes to the senior centers, there's gonna be oversight.
No,
There is.
50% of it goes to the
Excuse
Council on
me.
Aging.
Excuse me.
But you're misstating the facts.
No, I'm not.
50% of it
I
goes to the
believe I
Council on
have the
Aging.
floor. I said regardless of where the money comes from, whether it comes from the commission, whether it comes to the senior center through the Council on Aging, regardless of where it comes from, there's gonna be oversight. The Council on Aging, the reason it goes through there, it's been going through there before my time, was so that there was someone there providing oversight. Trust me, I can guarantee you, every one of them would wish they didn't have that oversight because they spend half their time dealing with an organization that doesn't believe in rules. I see it every month at the meeting. You yourself sat there in that meeting, I believe it was January, possibly December, and said that you could locate no receipts. You stated that in a Council on Aging meeting.
The December meeting, we had no meeting in December, so there was nothing to turn in.
I'm talking about for the audit. You stated
Oh,
that you were unable to locate receipts. You alluded to the fact that you'd have multiple treasurers through the years. Those receipts should be at the senior
the
center.
files are
They're-
there to go through them is gonna take a lot of time for us.
The fact, if we change the way we do it, and we give that money directly to the senior centers, there's gonna be audits.
Good.
And there's gonna be a yearly audit.
And we have no problem with it.
Well,
In
you
the
do or
future-
you don't.
Well, in the future, they have had nothing but bank statements to go by. Every month, expenses were turned in and receipts were turned in to the LCCA in a financial form every month. And then I talked to Dawn after the last meeting. This was to Commissioner Wallace. I did talk to Dawn last week after the meeting. She gave me a link to QuickBooks for nonprofits. I've looked into it, and we have to apply for it, but we can get it at $50 per year, which without that nonprofit type QuickBooks, it would cost us $600. It is cloud accounting, so we are looking at that. I would like a much better accounting system than they have, because it's easy to retrieve information when it's recorded. And I'm not treasurer, but I'm willing to help the treasurer do this, to get it accounting. It's just a burden for us to go through all of our stuff.
So out of curiosity, if the Sylvan Senior Center has had a difficult time in the last few years with maintaining board members for various reasons and actually compiling their information in an organized manner, wouldn't it be the Council on Aging's responsibility to help the organization that they're funding?
They tried to set up a QuickBooks program, Mike, about 6-8 months ago,
Well,
and the senior centers voted it down. They didn't
Yes.
want anything to do with it.
right, because Lincoln Senior Center, their treasurer didn't want anything to do with the computer. And I made the motion that the senior centers do the accounting on whatever aspect they desire to, as long as they bring a report to the monthly meeting.
And they also stated at that meeting that you could bring it in paper form and they would put it on the QuickBooks.
Well, they can do it if they want, but we'll do our own the way we want.
But I'm telling you, you say they don't offer to help. They offered to set it up on QuickBooks, and you just bring in the written
No,
stuff,
I
and they
read
would
the-
enter the information
I read
for
the
you.
motion. The motion said that the two senior centers will do this particular form of accounting. That's not helping. Helping is going in and actually helping them.
You're
you know,
talking
compile
about
the information.
when the decision was made to go to QuickBooks. I'm talking about the discussion at the next meeting when they said they didn't want to do QuickBooks, and I understand that. I had QuickBooks when I was in business, and it takes a certain amount of time, but they did offer to enter it for you.
Well, they can from our financial reports and everything. The other thing I will say is,
Entering the information is not the same as actually providing accounting services or treasurer's services. Being a treasurer means that you keep track of the balance sheet. You keep track of the income and the expenses.
And the receipts.
Exactly. And so telling them what program to use or offering to take the information and put it into the computer, that's not helping them with the problems that they've had. So I'm saying, as an organization that absorbs 50% of your mill levy, you should be responsible for those organizations that you're funding or not. You choose one or not. There's always a double standard. You know, both senior centers lost their 501c3 status with the IRS. It's a matter of paperwork. There was a time lapse. Both senior centers, ironically, in almost the same year, let their 501c3 lapse. And so they were not registered as a nonprofit with the federal government. At that time, the Council on Aging, who is comprised of completely different members now than was then. There might be one or two. Now the employee is the same employee, mind you, through this entire process. And at that time, when both senior centers lost their IRS 501c3 status, one senior center was not funded and the other one was. And the excuse was, well, we've umbrellaed the one senior center, so that is not a legal way to have a
They
transaction.
made the same offer to both seniors.
And it's illegal.
Wow.
So just because it was the same for both doesn't mean it was
There are a lot of
proper.
things that are illegal.
And the Council on
Certain
Aging,
ways of spending public money is illegal.
the Council on Aging did not help either senior center regain their 501c3 status. They did it independently because they are independent organizations, and I'm not opposed to that. But either we're giving 50% of that money to the Council on Aging to spend it themselves without this oversight that now you're so hyped up on doing, or we're giving it to them and expecting them to facilitate some of these situations like the treasury problem or reinstating the 501c3 status. I mean, that money, the 50% of the mill levy that's not going to the senior centers is being absorbed for a service that you're calling it a service by offering SHIC counseling on Main Street in Lincoln. Anyone can go to any surrounding county and get that done for free. And Lincoln County is paying 50% of 2 mills every year to get that done. So we are paying to get you a service in this county that is otherwise supposed to be done on a volunteer basis. Yes.
That's not the only service that's provided there. And
What else is
on
provided
3
there?
different occasions since I've been going to those meetings, I have served as Flint Hills representative, explain SHIC volunteer. It means SHIC's not paying them. And she can sit there and name off counties all over this area that have a paid person providing SHIC work.
Well, Ellsworth County has a paid situation where their Council on Aging has an employee who is part-time with no benefits or pension, and the population that she serves is 3 times Lincoln, and it's a part-time position. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, 3 things, help me remember 3 things here. IRS status for 501c3s, which was passed out to all of the council members, states that you must have your bank statements and your receipts on file for anybody that wants to come to the door and see them. Second thing is back in 2008 in March, the area coordinator asked the county commissioners at that time for a policy and restrictions on the use of tax dollars. My understanding is that she was referred to the county attorney, Jennifer O'Hare. I don't know if anything came of that. And then I'd just like to read, if I could, take the time to read the letter from Sherman, Hoffman, and Hip, written in June 2nd, 2015, in regards to what you're talking about.
Can you speak up so that we can hear?
I'll try.
Or come forward.
The throat is killing me, but I'll try. And this is to the Lincoln Council on Aging Mill Levy Regulations. Dear Lincoln County Council on Aging, I have been asked to review your policies and authorization regarding distribution of the mill levy. This board needs to focus on its own charge, which is to distribute funds from the mill levy according to the terms of the mill levy. Board members have a public trust to ensure that the funds are appropriately distributed. The board has discretion on how to distribute the funds. No senior center or other entity is entitled to automatically receive any money. At the same time, this board does not have authority to control any outside organization. Your power is over the funding only. and you have complete control over that funding, so long as you stay with the rules of the chapter resolution. I agree with prior analysis that under the 2004 charter resolution, definition of expenses is that they are continuing, predictable, and recurring categories of costs. The mill levy should be stable and should be used to promote stability in elderly services. In addition, this board has passed rules in the past and should continue to either be followed or amended. They look like common sense rules and should be used. Some of those were, they gave examples of maintaining the 501c3 status, which is through the IRS definition, and comply with the Open Records Act, and provide monthly minutes and financials. There's more stuff. It says if a center that is not compliant requests funds, that you are not obligated to fund them. As a courtesy, you may want to express concerns about compliance prior to application. An avoidable disruption in services would damage the elder care infrastructure of Lincoln County. And at the same time, as board members, you have a public trust to ensure that tax monies are being used appropriately and in compliance with the designated purpose. This is from George Hoffman. This is out of Ellsworth, Kansas.
He's
law
great,
offices.
Hoffman.
It says George, and then there's Patrick.
So it was 2 meetings ago in the minutes that I requested that we review the charter resolution. So have you looked at that? Would you like to discuss that? That's where we need to start. The charter resolution is what exists that deems the commission responsible for the tax dollars that are collected. And the last 2 years, as I stated, they have not taxed the entire, and I say they because I didn't approve the budget last year, they have not taxed the entire 2 mills on the county to provide these services for the elderly, because there is an exorbitant savings account owned by the LCCA who is responsible for distributing the funds that we are taxing yearly.
There's also 2 years worth of operating budget being held by the Sylvan Senior Center. So,
I'm sorry.
if they are so bad for having reserves,
Wait a
why
minute,
does
you're talking
Sylvan
about 2
Senior
different
Center-
things. You're talking about fundraisers, you're talking about an organization that has produced money with fundraisers versus an organization that is handed 100% of its operating costs by the people, tax dollars. That is completely different. You may not compare apples to oranges and say that private funds are equal to taxed funds. That's not the same thing.
Okay,
The Lincoln Senior Center has its own reserves because they've received donations, and more power to them, that's wonderful. Basically what I'm hearing is if both senior centers can generate private funds, then we don't need this mill levy, and we can relieve the burden on the people of those extra 2 mills every year. It's unnecessary. They both have savings accounts. And you're saying they have 2 years in Sylvan, well, we know they can survive without the mill levy for 2 years. I'm sure they have approximately the same amount in Lincoln. So really what we're saying here is they don't need the money, and we really don't need the mill levy.
okay. Their proposed budget for the year is just a little under $8,000, correct?
Yes.
7,000 something?
$400.
Last year, they received $13,750.
Where, with what?
Where did that extra money come from?
Well,
It came out of reserves, that's where it came from.
Apparently an excessive cost on tables and card tables and chairs. That's why I did the core request to the LCCA that I gave you a copy of, to show me 3 years of material that was purchased directly for the Sylvan Senior Center, which when it's purchased directly, the money does not go through account. We can't verify it.
I believe the tables were probably purchased in your fiscal year 2016.
Yeah, but they don't show anything here.
But what he's saying is, if the Council on Aging is buying goods, material goods for one or the other senior centers, that's not going into their budget. That's just providing them a gift of goods,
But it's
and
coming
still
out of
money.
the council's reserves. That's where it's coming out of.
It should be
That
coming out of
money-
their
that-
budget.
That 5,000 whatever dollars came out of their reserves. So the next
But
time they
that's
come
not-
in with something and there's no reserves, where's the money gonna come from?
Terry, that's not even possible, because if they received $2,700 out of 7,000 something, that remainder was still budgeted by the Council on Aging, and what you're saying is they provided that remainder in the form of material goods. So that is not out of the reserves, that is out of a budget that you approved for the Council on Aging.
One other comment on the QuickBooks. Why we'd like to do it ourselves is, and I asked Dawn about it, take for instance utilities, I asked her if there were subcategories, because if we have general utilities as one category, I like to have subs, gas, water, heat, all that, lights, because then I can track our expenses for each item. That's why when we do our own and we get it set up the way we want, it benefits us and also gives better record for everybody else. But we've used our
I
time.
completely agree with you, Mike. I think it's great.
We've used our time already, I see here. I have one more thing, I'm just gonna leave a business card with you for our senior center, because we are looking to the future, no matter what it holds. And this is a business card that we put together, so. And there's a little bit of information on the back also.
I do have one question before you go.
Okay.
The auditing firm that they're talking to out of Topeka is an auditing firm that you located, correct?
Trahan and Burbidge,
Yes.
and that was in July.
Has the county council on aging contacted that auditing firm to set it up?
Yes, they have. That's why the request was made for those documents, so that they could get a price on what it's gonna cost to do it.
Again, an auditing firm has the capacity to contact each group. There is no reason to offer any material in paper to a third-party organization. If you're being audited, you provide it directly to the auditor, just as the county does. No one asks for a third-party location to bring your financials to, and it's my understanding that Lincoln Senior Center provided their financials, and they've already gotten reverberation in a negative way from the Council on Aging, and the audit hasn't even happened.
They got a
So-
non-compliance letter as of Friday.
So now both senior centers are out of compliance. The Council
that
on
means
Aging
3
absorbs
months
50% of the
without
money, and they're gonna withhold the other 50% from going to the two entities which this mill levy was supposed to fund.
Yeah,
If we took a portion of this time and applied it to the rest of the $6 million we spend every year, we might be planning something here.
I
Legitimate.
don't think we should have to bother with it at all. I think we have someone that's supposed to take care of it.
Who are you referring to?
Council on Aging.
How many years of complaints? How many years of complaints
You know
have
what?
you two
I'm gonna
received?
tell you something. They're gonna complain, period.
How many years of complaints have you received? It's a simple question.
I'm just gonna say, as far as Sylvan, we're gonna move ahead positively with or without the money. We're gonna continue our senior center. And our people are happy that we pulled out because they don't have the stress. Just like it says on the back of our card, we choose to be with those who bring the best in us and not the stress in us.
And as I stated, I think they would rather not be in charge of that money because of the stress that it causes them.
Then we should take responsibility for it and
Then
put on
who's
our
gonna
grown-up
provide the
pants.
oversight? The county
We-
commission in here every month?
I'm not sure why you're so obsessed with providing oversight for the senior centers that spend a total of $45,000 a year when we have never once in the year and 3 months that I've been here asked for any kind of statement or bill from any of the departments. None. In fact, for the first time, we're asking them to come and give a report as to what they even
We
do.
approve their expenditures every month. Every month we approve their
I
expenditures.
have never seen a bill for a light bill, a gas bill. I've never seen one of those bills. And yes, they're approved every month. So I'm not sure why you're so worried about scrutinizing the bills that are coming in for these two third-party entities when we don't even do that internally.
I'm trying to find a solution to the problem, but you're making it extremely difficult to find that solution.
What is your solution? What
I
is your
said
proposed
I was
solution?
trying to. I stated, regardless of who gives them their money, there's gonna be oversight. I didn't say that we were gonna continue to do it the way we are, or whether I was in favor of changing the way it is. But the more I have to sit here and listen to this, the more I'm starting to make up my mind that I don't wanna deal with this every month.
We've used our time. We've had a half hour and it was supposed to be 10:30 to 11.
I wanna thank you, Mike. I still say we need to move forward. I would appreciate it if you would reconsider your decision to Sylvan Senior Center. I don't wanna operate under stress,
No, we don't.
and I don't like this.
It's not.
But I do think you deserve your money, and I told them that, very bluntly.
And I appreciate that.
I had, but you need to come back under their umbrella to get it. We don't have the money, Mike, to be right honest with you. We've already distributed any distribution we can make until January.
I understand.
You know, so we need to get on top of this. You know, I know it's gonna be hard to bury the hatchet. It's hard, it's difficult. But if we could just start in a positive way, I think we do. I think this discussion shows the problems we have in this county.
Well,
Thank you.
let me make one comment on that. If the reports would be taken to the LCCA, I see no purpose for any member being there and suffering through what goes on. The reports are the issue, correct?
I don't know.
Because-
I don't know. I just know that if they don't have them, it is a problem. But that meeting should not be a suffering meeting.
No, it's painful.
I mean, it should not be. It should not be.
And
it-
how
it
many
needs
years,
to-
and how many years have we
See,
known
here we
about
go
this?
Okay, I wanna say one thing real quick. The meetings here have been not near as stressful as LCCA. You take time to listen to us and we appreciate it, and we take time to listen to you. But I think it's time we go and we need to discuss it with our senior centers. We've taken your time, I appreciate it, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Deborah, did you need something today?
I move that the Lincoln County Commission individually approve the budgets for the Lincoln Senior Center and the Sylvan Senior Center for the remainder, of the mill levy, cannot talk today, mill levy for elderly services due to the mismanagement of funds and 50% absorption of these taxes by the Council on Aging.
You get that done?
I've got that Alexis Blue moved that the Lincoln County Commissioners individually approve the budgets for the Lincoln Senior Center and Sylvan Senior Center for the remainder of the mill levy for elderly services due to the mismanagement of funds and 50% absorption of these taxes by the Council on Aging.
Perfect.
To do okay.
Motion on the floor, do I have a second? Motion died, lack of a second. I see you're on the schedule for 15 minutes.
Dawn,
you
you
have
wanna put me
something
down
you'd
for
like to
half
share
an
with
hour
us?
for next week? I move to withhold the second payment of the mill levy for elderly services to the Council on Aging, fiscal year 2018, due to several years of complaints against this organization.
Okay, you wrote so fast I didn't get it all, so would you?
I move to withhold the second payment of the mill levy for elderly services to the Council on Aging due to several years of complaints against this organization.
Can I have for fiscal year 2018? Do you just?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Second disbursement won't go out until June, is that correct?
May, the last day of
Got a motion on the floor to withhold the second payment of the mill levy for the seniors. I don't remember the entire motion, but that's the gist of it. Do I have a second? Motion died for lack of a second.
Move for the Lincoln County Commission to request meeting notifications according to Cora for the LC, Lincoln County Council on Aging, I guess if you want to put it out there. Since 2/3 of the commission was asked to attend the last meeting.
You know, I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
I could vote for the first part of that motion, but that end of that motion I find very offensive, and I will vote no.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you for that clarification. I move for the Lincoln County Commission to request meeting notifications for the Lincoln County Council on Aging according to Cora.
I would second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
You do know that the part that was offensive was because I was the only one that wasn't asked out of, when I said 2/3, it was because I was the one that was not invited to the meeting.
It was their meeting. If two of us would have been there, it would have been our meeting.
You just said you were notified as well, so 2/3
I'm the
of you-
representative, so I was notified. I told them I could not attend. I was out of town. So there were not going to be two commissioners at the meeting.
Do we all understand that when an organization is a 501c3, they have to have an open meeting? And if it's an open meeting, you may have several elected officials, even the majority, a quorum of a body, because it's an open meeting. It doesn't mean that we're going to make any board decisions as a commission at someone else's open meeting, but if it's an open meeting, the public can attend, and we are able to discuss in an open meeting the issues at hand. We're actually able to discuss anything we want, but as long as it's an open meeting.
But the possibility existed that it could have been a violation of the open meetings law by the Lincoln County Commissioner if two of us would have participated in the meeting.
Not if it was an open meeting.
Technically, if it's an open meeting and two commissioners are going to be present, they need to notify me and let me know that two members are going to be present, so I can make my notifications to the people that ask me for open meetings, because regardless, two of you are a quorum, whether or not you're
Yes.
going to participate or not.
Excellent, that is right. So then in the future, if we get these notifications, you would be notified as well on our behalf, so then everyone would know. That would be wonderful.
Don, could you repeat the motion?
Alexis Blue moved for the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners to request meeting notification according to Cora. Did you say Board of Commissioners? I thought it was different.
Move for Lincoln County Commission to request, is what I wrote.
The Lincoln Senior Center is the one that called the meeting, so are they supposed to notify everybody? It wasn't the Council on Aging that called.
don't
I
know.
did not know that.
I don't know who's on the
It was the Lincoln
notification.
Senior Center that called the meeting. Their officers.
So I have the motion being Alexis Blue moved for the Lincoln County Commission to request meeting notification according to Cora. Do you want me to add to the Council on Aging?
I did say that. Oh, No, you're right, the second time I did not. No, you don't have to, it's just posted, I think we all know what we're talking about with the
I
council
think
on
it
aging.
needs to be in the minutes. I assume that that was for the Lincoln Council on Aging is what
I'll just,
Move
I
to
was
amend.
seconding. What I was seconding was in reference to the Lincoln County Council on Aging.
You
Correct.
understand that you can be put on the notification list. The idea of notifying the commission is at best out there, because if they decide to have a meeting, the only person they've got to notify is here, unless they wanna try to catch up with all three of us. So,
Dawn, did you report to the commission in 2016 when I and several other members of the Sylvan Senior Center said that we had requested to be put on the notification list for the Council on Aging in mail via certified letter, and we have never received a notification? We never received a notification for that whole year. Do you remember that? Did you ever report that to them as the commission? No, it was just in an email correspondence.
I don't recall if I did.
Yeah, well, just as an update, there have been several people request by certified mail that they be placed on this list of notifications for that organization, and they never received their notifications.
did you say you were on the notification list?
Yeah, I asked to be on it in January by written request, as Robert's Rules of Order tells you to do. And I've always been notified by their council meetings. I've not been notified when Lincoln Senior Center holds a council meeting. But I'm not on their list,
List.
I guess.
We have a motion and a second.
Did somebody second it?
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
What motion? I second something. What did I second?
Well, you seconded the
It
first.
got
one.
it's been so confusing the last 5 or 6 minutes that I don't even know what the motion is.
The motion is standing is Alexis Blue moved for the Lincoln County Commission to request meeting notification according to Cora, and then I've added in parentheses so that it's added for the Lincoln County Council on Aging.
Thank you, that's fine.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I second, I guess.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. I don't see, when you can be individually put on a list, why the commission needs to be put on a list.
I know this is, I probably should have had this discussion prior to the vote, but how do you want them to notify? Do you want them to notify me and then I notify you, or do you want them to notify you individually as board members?
That's what I was talking about.
I think the motion was the commission, so I assume it'll come to the clerk's office.
Okay.
Yes.
Clarification, does that mean that I need to have a notification for the other two senior centers in regards to
Yes.
that too then? Because I don't have one to be notified of Sylvan's meetings or their executive meetings.
I would assume that's correct.
Yes, they are all independent, nonprofit status with the IRS, separate from one another. The only connection there is the funding that the commission collects from the public is being given in a lump sum to the Council on Aging. The Council on Aging has been distributing approximately 50% of that money yearly in a percentage split of about, I don't know, 80-20, 90-10, somewhere in there any given year between the two senior centers that exist in the county. The rest of that 50% that is withheld has either gone into a savings account or has been used for its own operating expenses. They have a board of 10 people and 1 employee.
I'd like to add that according to parliamentary procedure, your bylaws are your rules of how each organization on 501c3 is to operate. and that there needs to be someone look at the bylaws to make sure that each senior center is in compliance with 501c3 not-for-profits. And I'd like to state that the minutes of those meetings are what can be used in court, and so they should contain accurate information.
I move to request Attorney General's help by issuing an opinion with the Lincoln County budget regarding KSA 75-4301A and KSA 75-4304. For those of you who have not been here in the past, it was brought to my attention several months ago in the last year of 2017 that there's a contract that exists between the county commission and the private law firm of O'Hare Law LLC, which is owned as a sole proprietor by the county attorney. And in the minutes, which Cindy just pointed out may be used in the court of law, it states that the county attorney negotiated this contract and requested that her personal law firm be the one that provides the services to the county. So basically, it wouldn't happen like this, but potentially you could have any law firm provide services, paralegal services, paper, pens, printer access, etc., to the county. So we happen to contract with the county attorney's private law firm. Now, the fact that that exists is normal. The way in which it was, the contract was created with negotiation of the county attorney and the commission together, it's really questionable, and so I've been wanting the Attorney General to issue an opinion on that. Because basically, if we allow this, it means that any elected official, she's an elected official, our county attorney, I'm an elected official, Don's an elected official, any elected official that owns a private business is not supposed to come to the commission and request a contract. And so, you know, the commission has called it a verbal agreement or a reimbursement, any of those things, but we don't have any itemized receipts. In fact, we have receipts that just say supplies, but we are separately paying supplies. Paper and other office expenses are already billed directly. So without having those specific receipts, we really don't have an idea of what the details of that contract are, if you were to call it a contract. There's nothing written down, which is the problem. So I've been requesting that before anything happens where Lincoln County finds themselves in a bind, as we have in the past, maybe we could ask that the Attorney General issue us an opinion, because an elected official is an elected official. It doesn't matter what your business is. You know, Terry, I think you've done construction. If you wanted your construction business to work on the courthouse, you would have to bid it out. The contract that we have with the current supplier of our attorney needs, so to speak, of the attorney's office, of the needs there, was never bid. So it wasn't bid, and we don't have itemized receipts, and the contract that is there is purely verbal, of which I was not a party to because that was before my time. So I've questioned that for several months, and the opinion of the board, two-thirds of the board, is that it's a non-issue. But if it was a non-issue, we should be really relaxed about inviting the Attorney General in to talk to us and to give us an opinion.
I have a motion on the floor, do I have a second? Motion died for lack of a second.
I move to withdraw the bills from Lincoln Park Manor that request payment for cleaning the kitchen facilities hood and maintenance on the security system, comma, approving the rest of the submitted bills.
Have a motion on the floor, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion?
I will agree with the hood. We own the security system. I think it's our duty to keep it up. So I will be voting no.
Is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No. Would you care to make the hood a separate motion?
Yes, sir. I was just waiting for her to finish typing. I move to withdraw the bill submitted from Lincoln Park Manor for payment of cleaning the kitchen facilities hood.
Got it? Have a motion on the floor, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you for that. One last point of discussion here. I noticed that recently, within the last, well, I brought it up maybe a month ago, our website has been changing significantly, which some of the additions and changes have been wonderful. We've asked for the minutes of previous years, not just the past 2 years and the current year, to be available, which is great, and thank you for that, Dawn, in your office. On the commissioners page, we have Lincoln County, Kansas website, so it's lincolncoks.com. And there used to be a set of basically ethical conduct descriptions under the county commission page, and I'd really like to see those come back. They were up there for a long time, and then they got replaced by this.
I don't know, that sounded pretty good to me.
The central job of a county commissioner is to allocate public resources, examples, tax funds, personnel, facilities, and equipment, in a manner beneficial to county residents. Under state law, commissioners may only exercise their power to allocate resources through an official meeting of the Board of Commissioners. Individual commissioners have no more legal authority to make decisions than a private citizen, and the meetings are the only avenue for commissioners to exercise the collective power of the board. As public officials, the commissioners must be vigilant in assuring that the board meetings conform to state law. However, a legally compliant board meeting does not guarantee an effective and democratically responsive meeting. Thus, in the public sector, governing bodies must also give attention to 3 other criteria related to their official meetings. Results. Do the official decisions made at meetings produce outcomes that meet short and long-term county needs? Process. Does that board make decisions in a deliberative, efficient, and ethical manner in a way that promotes healthy citizen participation? Public image. Does the board conduct itself in a setting in such a manner as to earn public respect and create a positive public image? While I agree with most of what's being said here, where did this come from? Where did this wording come from?
I have no idea. I didn't know it was changed, so
Who would have changed that?
I really don't know.
It's a mystery.
It is.
Could
Because
you
I
ask
wasn't
Hannah
there.
to come to the next meeting and maybe explain that to us? I would really like to solve that mystery.
Hannah is my employee, so I will ask her myself,
Okay.
but I don't think it's necessary that she comes to your meeting.
Okay, if you can provide us an answer, that would be great, because I think your office is responsible for what happens on the webpage, from what I've been told by you.
Not
But-
100%. Some departments take care of their own page.
Well,
But that would have been us. I have no
the
idea
commission
why
would
she
have been,
changed it.
okay, just out of curiosity. But some of that is maybe necessary. I mean, it kind of does explain, I really
I was just going out to your guys' Kansas County Commissioner's website to see if maybe she took it off of that.
Okay, and it's informative, but I would like to see, what was on there prior, a couple months ago, put back. I think it might have been before the beginning of the year. I don't know if that was changed at the new year, somewhere right around there. I haven't looked at it every day, but, I'm sorry?
I don't remember what was there.
It was basically a code of ethical conduct, and my hard drive crashed on my old computer because I had it on there in a presentation that I did, but it was really good. What was on there was really good, and I think it should at least be added to this, if not replace it or come back and take this off. And I mean, what's said here is pretty appropriate, about saying that the central job of a commissioner is to allocate the resources in a manner beneficial to county residents. I do totally agree with that, and that's kind of the premise of the rest of whatever it's talking about. But that doesn't even have to go, but I would really like to see what was on there come back. So,
Did you need something, Dan?
Work.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
With work, yeah. I'd like to ask commissioners if there's any for our Beverly Community Church bought a house next to the property we own there. We're gonna demolish it, haul it off. We could have a waiver on the dump fee at the landfill, and if not, we understand. So that's great.
Does the city of Beverly, do they have a cleanup deal set up like Lincoln does?
the church owns the property.
We just purchased it, yes. It's a house that just, it was a known drug deal, and it was right next to our property, and when it came up for sale, we
Is
bought
it demolished yet, or you're?
No, it's still standing. We will.
I have personally absolutely no problem with it. I don't know if that's something we need to look at.
Well, you have the dilapidated housing program. The thing is you just have to remember that every organization that comes in, you have to treat equally.
And that's, I totally understand if it's no.
I would think that it would qualify for the dilapidated housing program where it would be a reduced rate. The city of Beverly doesn't participate like the city of Lincoln does because they just don't have the funds to do the cost share. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't pay their share or waive the city's share, the cost share if you wanted to, but you have to remember you have to do it equally.
So could we maybe make that decision next week if we look at the, I have that somewhere, that dilapidated housing program. If you would, yeah, I mean, I have it, but it's filed somewhere.
Yeah, we could absolutely do our share. It would be what, 30 minus, 35 minus 10?
Yes.
25?
Normally, the city of Lincoln shares 5 and the county shares 5, so yes, it'd be down to 25.
It's a big house.
No, it's not a real big house.
I would think that'd probably be the best way, Dan, to proceed with it. I see a couple problems. Number one is, once we get this started, how you
Precedence.
stop it, and the other is we're dealing with church and state too, and I'm sorry.
Yes, I understand that.
I-
Totally.
I would clarify that, your organization is a nonprofit, I'm assuming.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So we don't have to address it as a religious exemption. It is an individual nonprofit organization, standalone, just like any other entity that we even give funds to.
How soon do you want to tear it down, dude?
As soon as possible.
Today?
Before we get busy. Before we get busy.
Today?
It's too wet today.
What, how about if we, I really think we need to look at a couple of issues. Could we do it this way, at a maximum cost of $25 a ton, and maybe less?
Well, I'll take it to the
Would that,
trustees.
could
We'll
you
decide what
proceed
we're
if we offered that today?
Okay. Discussion was made of digging a hole and burying it too, so that is another option, so.
Yeah, right there on spot, you mean?
No.
Oh, okay,
No,
all
no,
right.
we would be taking care of it anyways, yes.
That gets a little touchy too. If it's your house, you can bury it on your land. But I'm not sure. I mean, you know, I'm just
Okay.
telling you what KDHE says.
Yep. Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
I've been on extension board, was on extension board forever. Some of your problems here at the commission, if you would discuss a few things before you made a motion, would maybe clean up what happens in the motion area and look a little better. Just as a other board member. Just put that there for you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you guys very
Thank
much.
you, Dan. There no further business come before the board?
I have one question. Okay, so Terry, have we officially appointed you to the Central Kansas Planning Commission?
Say that again.
The Planning Commission, did we officially appoint you to that?
North Central Kansas.
North, yeah, that's what it's called, thank you.
I don't know if we ever
NCR's,
officially
North
did it.
Central
I've been
Regional Planning,
North Central
NCR's.
Regional Planning Commission. I don't know if we ever officially did it or not.
I
I've been-
cannot remember for the life of me right now.
I can't tell you. I've
And
been-
then, would one of you like to serve on the 12th Judicial District? Have either of you done that in the past?
I haven't, no.
I did, and it's the same day as on the Juvenile Detention Center in Junction City, and quite frankly, by the time I make it down there in the morning, I cannot make it to Concordia in the afternoon.
What is the Juvenile Detention Center meeting that you go to?
Well, it's where we send our juveniles if they get in bad trouble.
It's North Central, or North Central Juvenile Detention, North Central Kansas Juvenile Detention.
And we
I mean, is
contribute
that
to
like
their
a-
budget every year.
Is that have we appointed that? Are you a 3-year term? Like, what is the status of,
When I came on the commission, that was what I was assigned to.
so you've been doing that for,
I've been doing it, yes. That's usually the way it works in the counties. They usually designate a commissioner to fill that position. Some counties do not choose to attend,
okay,
but I
thinking-
think it's very important that we attend so we know what's going on.
when you say we contribute to their budget, did they come in, which budget item was that? Which,
Juvenile detention.
Juvenile detention, $500, I think is the minimum, and we're at the minimum, but if we keep putting people down there, we're gonna get charged a little bit more. We have so many days for $500, and after that, it's $140, I believe $140, $120, I don't remember a day, if we exceed our days.
It's a fairly large group of counties that,
Yeah, there's about 12 of us, I think.
so we pay that minimum, we have access to their facility. If and when we send someone that we overuse our budgeted amount, we have to pay a bill.
Yeah.
When's the last time we received a bill for that?
We haven't had any juveniles for a couple of years.
We haven't had a bill for quite a while, but we have had, in the
We
last 2
have had-
years, we've had some.
we
Yeah,
haven't
they may
exceeded
have
the
gone down the
$500.
state, but they just didn't bill us.
Yeah. Some of them are billed to the state too, if they're in state
And in
custody.
years past, we've paid more, so
Yeah.
it just kind of, the members pay more, but I think they're housing a lot more Saline County people, so some of those non-member counties are paying more of the expenses than we are to help reduce our costs.
Sylvan County closed their facility 3 or 4 years ago, and
Do you know why?
costs, they couldn't.
They couldn't make
It
it.
was cheaper to take them down there than it was to,
They also had regulation problems.
yeah, it's, juveniles are a whole different game than adults.
Okay. I have nothing further today. Does anyone else have a public comment?
Well, just in regards to juvenile, Saline County will move to have neighborhood accountability boards
Yeah.
for their juveniles. I serve on that board for Saline County.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll adjourn until Monday morning, the 26th at 10 o'clock.
Dawn, did you get me a new $72 bill from the landfill?
Oh, yeah, don't worry about it.
Cause I called you about not